right. I think we might be live. And I see we have some people in the house. We have Crystal, Vegas BB. We have the Keno Kid, or at least we have a couple of his dots on the screen. We'll wait a couple of moments to see if anybody else joins the broadcast.
That means I can open my beer.
You can open your beer.
I will be right back. I'm going to get a beer opener.
Sounds like a plan
Crack
here.
open.
I'm going to go get a shot glass.
Cold one.
All right, yeah. Well, there probably will be shots.
I can put this here on my face.
You should. Oh my God! I accidentally opened the wrong.
Hello, Crystal and Keno.
Oh, I'm watching a video about prayer or something. Okay, here we go.
Well, it is Easter.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Until you are. All right, we have 5 people in the house. 2 likes so far. Hey, if you're in the house, please do consider hitting that like button. We have PJ in the house. Thank you for joining us. PJ joining us all the way from his from the golf course, I believe.
Is he? They might. Okay.
That's
hello, Hollywood.
That's pretty late. I don't know who there's Hollywood. I don't know who Hollywood is, but I'm glad that Hollywood has joined us today. We could have some unusual names because I did post this in the Facebook group. We got Josh Ray in the house. Josh, thanks for joining us.
We got another JR. That's a JR.
Well, there's a lot of JRs in the world. There we go. So, yeah. So everybody is scrounging away for, I don't know, some form
as soon as they come on screen, they leave.
As soon as we go live, everyone is doing that. So, we're bringing people in. Once we get people in here in just a few moments, we'll make a few introductions to the studio audience.
I don't drink anymore. So
and there's that guy.
I am back.
I was trying to get a little fill light in on me, and I don't know if it worked or not.
Well, it's all right. You look better in the dark. It's okay.
I have a great face.
That's probably true. That's right. Well, I don't think I'm going to upload this as a podcast, but who knows? But yeah. So, all right. Hey, well, first of all, just wanted to thank the participants in tonight's Vegas Roundtable in no particular order. Well, actually in clockwise order. Thank you for joining us, Ronnie C. We have the one and only Kevin, Mr. Vegas Visual, joining us from the San Diego area. I'm sure you have enjoyed his updates over the years on many other Vegas vlogs and a number of documentaries that he has brought to us about Las Vegas. He's probably among the smartest people I've met when it comes to being able to actually talk about Las Vegas history. And so we appreciate him joining us here tonight. He does not normally appear on camera. So thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Over on the next in line is Michael Movestro, famous for many things, probably most famous for marrying the Kenos, and a fine job he did in that role. But he's been involved in Las Vegas, I guess, amateur media, we could call it, for many, many years on the Vegas Bright website. He, like most of us, he has a YouTube channel as well. And so when he visits Las Vegas, he definitely shows us a little bit what's going on and his thoughts about it. Continuing around, everybody knows the Ace of Vegas, not just one of our esteemed Vegas experts, but also quite a gaming expert. And I would say the world's foremost authority on the My Vegas games. And they've sunk a little bit in terms of the quality, but hey,
teensy bit, but you can squeeze something out of it still.
Oh yeah, there's still some good stuff there. So, and finally, in the right below me is my good friend from college and beyond, Mr. Kevin Dillmore. He has been to Las Vegas a number of times. I may actually go around and ask people about how many times they think they've been to Las Vegas, but but most notably, he and I were there helping to celebrate my 50th birthday 10 years ago. And hopefully he'll be able to join us this September for the 60th. But he's also been there a number of times on business. Thought he might bring a slightly different perspective and one that's we don't normally hear in the community. The theme of today's show, and I say today's show because if this goes well, Perhaps there will be additional Vegas roundtables, but the theme of today's show, and it's quite a nebulous one, is what Vegas means to me. And I kind of thought of that theme after watching a couple of YouTube videos by Michael Movestro when he talked about some of his feelings about Las Vegas, what it meant to him on his most recent trip. So I thought maybe we'd start with Michael. If he had any idea how many times he's been to Las Vegas, and some of why you keep going back, Michael.
Well, thank you. I don't know how many times I've been to. When you said we're going to ask that question just before, I was like, well, damn. I know I've been going since 2009, but I haven't really counted it. Some years I go. When I started off, I would try to go twice, and I went to 3 times, and fluctuated back and forth between twice and 3 times. 2020 was I went when everything was shutting down, and that was my only trip that year. And then 2021 happened, and I was like making up for was it 2022? One of those I was making up for lost time. Oh yeah, 2022 I was making up for lost times. I think I went like 5-6 times. So I would say 50-ish without having a number. 50-ish,
Yeah,
something like that. I keep going back because it's Vegas. I mean,
yeah,
you know what? It's you can't get bored of it, and it's always changing. And the things that stick around, I don't get bored of, and the things that are new, I'm kind of sometimes excited to see. I could do without another CVS, but other than that, it's I don't know. It's just it calls my name, and I return, especially when I'm in a happy mood. And when I'm not in a happy mood, I sometimes kind of forget about it because everything seems gloomy. But like last time, as you saw, I was like, screw it, I'm going to go anyway, whatever. And I wasn't expecting to have fun. It was just something to do. And then once I got off of the Flix, I was on the Flix bus, seeing all of Vegas appear around me after that long journey. And it was just like everything, all my love for it came back, So it's like, I don't know, like running into your high school sweetheart after many, many years or something like that. Like sometimes things can get reinvigorated, or that's a really crappy analogy, but I don't really have another way to describe it. So yeah, especially if you liked your high school sweetheart, that's a plus. I mean, if not, then forget it. If you have bad memories of your high school sweetheart, it's not like that at all.
Yeah. Well, it does kind of at some point feel kind of like a touchstone, kind of like this, like at some point place you have to go back to, almost a feeling of a compulsion to just land at the airport or drive in on I-15 or whatever and see it appear around you. And I've always for years, I said I had 3 homes where I was born in here in Nebraska, although 100 miles west of here, where I lived for many years in Lawrence, Kansas. And then my 3rd home, because it always felt like I was coming home, was Las Vegas. Well, Esther, you are, I believe, in the Arizona area, so it's not a particularly long trip. And it's also not a particularly long trip for our Vegas historian, Kevin, Vegas Visual. Did you do any math over the past 24 hours as far as how many times you think you've been to Vegas?
The one thing I will say is I am highly impressed and respect JR for documenting every single trip. And he knows the days and the months and the percentage of when he went and the visits per month. I just love that. I wish I would have been doing that, but I'm in the Movestro camp of the ish number. So my ish number is 20-ish.
Okay.
So I haven't been going as often as I have recently, but my first trip was 1981, and it was decidedly a different town.
Wow.
And the only thing I'll say on that first trip is I had 2 distinct memories, and one is going northbound on Las Vegas Boulevard, passing the lights of the porte cochere of the MGM Grand from 73, and just seeing the lights and noticing the lights. You didn't notice the architecture of the buildings because there wasn't much of any kind of architecture. You saw the signage and the lights. And then I passed this feathery sign that said Flamingo. And it was just amazing. And the biggest part of Vegas back then is not only did YouTube not exist, but the internet didn't exist. So the amount of information, the amount of videos and photos that you saw of Vegas were only the occasional TV show or film and the occasional magazine ad. That's all. So you had limited knowledge of what it looked like or felt. And to go down that street and all those lights, it was just a different world. And it just blew me away. And then more of a fuzzy memories going to Circus, but driving down northbound, passing MGM Grand and then the Flamingo. And I didn't know then, but the Flamingo feather sign was only 4 years old. It was installed in 77. And so it was brand new and it was just a different world.
Yeah. No, that brings to mind when you say that experience of sort of first driving up the strip. My first trip, I did actually rent a car. And so I stayed at the Flamingo, and there's kind of like that momentous moment where you kind of like turn the corner and suddenly the lights are all there. And even in 1996, I guess it was, the lights were still the sort of, the highlight to a large degree.
It was lights and signs. You didn't think about the architecture. There wasn't the themed 90s places. And then you realize you don't need street lights on this street for the most part. I mean, you had gaps where there's no resorts, but where there was a resort, you didn't need street lights, basically.
Right. Yeah. All right, I think we better bring in our fourth panelist, the Ace of Vegas. Ace, did you do any research on how many times you've been to Vegas? Is someone going to have an answer today?
I did do some maths on it. I did count up the booty. And we've ended up with, I had to think on it a little bit. I think we did end up on about a 40 is what it came down to over the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Which is about how long I've been. Well, it's 12 years, honestly. So that's where I've gotten to the 40. But yeah, I've been going since I was finishing college up.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty nice.
You were pretty consistent. I don't know. There was a series of probably 3 or 4 trips in a row where you were consistently there when I was. Even I wasn't really expecting it.
I think that was it was mostly during the reopening, honestly, and that's I think that's really where I discovered how much Vegas did mean to me. Just seeing it turn off, because I'm sure you guys all know. I mean, everyone was watching it. But I was physically there. It was my birthday that turned off Vegas, actually. Wow. So moral of the story is don't let Ace turn 30 because the world ends. So y'all got about another 7 years of good stuff. And then when I have my 40th, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm assuming it's going to be aliens.
I mean, Vegas can't handle a big Ace birthday.
It literally could not. March 18th is when they shut it down, and that's when it happened. So
there's so many. Which is interesting. There were so many people there vlogging that experience that we've seen it from a half a dozen different perspectives. Kevin, did you do your homework, or I
did. I did the homework, and the number I came up with was 20, starting from my first trip in 1992, which I stayed with my wife at the time at the MGM Grand. Took in a comedy show there of Rita Rudner and Dennis Miller, which was great because, of course, Rita was dazzlingly funny as usual, and then Dennis Miller rolls out, and after about 3 jokes in, you're just this chill in the air, and he grabs the mic and said, "Martha, I think the show just changed," and it was terrific. It was a great. Been there on business a number of times, attending what used to be the official Star Trek convention. They only have one that was licensed by CBS at the time. It has since the Creation Entertainment, which had the licenses, since given up the license. So they now do, they call their show, I think this year will be like the 57th year mission is what they'll call it, because that's the anniversary of the of the original series. Now, I will say that one of my most meaningful trips, besides your 50th birthday, if I can consult, my daughter and son-in-law got married in Las Vegas.
Oh wow.
Oh, I
as we can
remember that.
see.
Mazel
Yes, yes. So that's with a nice little cake and everything.
All the cool
they get
kids do
married-
that.
They got married on
Yeah.
July 1st, 2017. Vegas historians, what happened on July 1st, 2017?
What did happen there?
Wow. I
2017.
mean, it wasn't October, so it's right before that.
Have I stumped the panel?
The modern stuff I don't know is as tight as
That's-
the older stuff.
That's okay. That's okay. Legal weed. Weed became.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that did
Oh,
come
wow.
out. Yeah, that's right.
We
It's been
were
6
on
years
Fremont
since they
Street
worked on that.
as they counted down like it was midnight, or like it was January 1st. People were counting down, and then at midnight, the stroke of midnight, everybody blazed up and turned Fremont Street into the biggest bake box in North America. And I talked to a couple of police officers that were there, and they said, "Yeah, we've got orders to just let this happen."
Yeah. Wow.
So,
that does make
yeah,
sense.
so that was-
yeah.
That was a memorable night. And then the
believe
next day, they got married at with a discount package that they got at one of the chapels. And while it was my son-in-law and I were waiting, I was waiting for him to go get pizza at the Cosmo, which is my one stop I make every time I go to Vegas. My first meal is always at Secret Pizza at the Cosmopolitan. Waiting for him to come downstairs, I fed a 20 into a machine. And this is what happens when you hit 8 quick hits.
Just with the 20.
Wow.
$1,500.
Very
So
nice.
Right away.
I turned it over to them and paid for the wedding. So how about that?
Nice. Very nice.
There you
Very
go.
nice. Cool.
So yeah, so that weekend, or the 3 days I was there with them was certainly the most.
Oh yeah.
That was just terrific. And I will say this. I know it sounds a little cliche, but Vegas weddings are fun. They are just flat out fun. So
There you go. And you and your Star Trek people were instrumental in the slow destruction of the Rio, were you not?
well, I will say this. I enjoyed the Rio as a resort as well as any Legionnaire. And I mean, it's just not. Actually, we stayed at the Rio twice. I traveled with a team from Hallmark, and after the second time we stayed there, we switched and stayed at the Vidara, which I will say was an upgrade from the Rio. To say
Was that the only word you could come up with? Upgrade.
Yeah,
That's significant.
just a little bit. Yeah.
just a tad. I enjoy Vidara. I don't know that I mean, it's what do they say that pizza's like sex. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's still pretty good. I was in Vegas. I mean, yes, I was staying at the Rio, but I was in Vegas. So
Yeah.
it was
And Kevin,
horrible.
Kevin, what did you think of the Star Trek over at Westgate and closing down?
Oh, you mean
And
the former LVH?
Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
LVH,
I actually was there on opening weekend. I mean, I was covering it for a magazine, and
Star Trek
And-
Communicator, as I recall, wasn't
that's
that what it was
correct.
called?
Star Trek
Yeah.
Communicator, which was the official Star Trek fan club magazine, and I was covering it. And I went 3 different times. I went to the opening. I went once when they opened a new. They had parallel experience, kind of rides. There weren't rides. I don't know. I mean, it ended with a virtual reality kind of ride. And then they switched one of the sides over to a different ride. And then I went not long before it closed because I had a book signing there. So they invited us to my writing partner, Dayton Ward, and I to go do a book signing. And I would say, I think it was a 10-year contract. They just let it expire. I think they moved in Starlight Express after that, if I remember right, for a show. I think the timing of it was good because Star Trek has changed so much in those 10 years that that they would have had to revamp it anyway. I mean, it's just a totally different visual feel. And I'm sorry, I've got my youngest grandson's having an issue.
I assume that was just Ace wailing in the background.
Yeah, that's your resident 12-year-old being upset about the changes to Star Trek.
No, that's very cool. The interesting thing, and I'm sure you probably, several of you, I'm sure the Kevins probably both know this, is like there was originally plans to reopen the Star Trek experience in that what do you call it, the doomed shopping center downtown, Neonopolis.
That's correct.
And I don't know if you ever heard about.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Saved a lot of the structures and stuff. To be honest, now is that roughly where Meow Wolf is now?
No,
I think it's a few blocks off, actually.
Yeah,
because it was supposed to be a lot closer to Fremont at one point or another, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
There was even a plan at one point to build a giant sort of Enterprise replica downtown. I think that was even before they did. No, it would have been after the Fremont Street experience. But we're getting off on a tangent here.
It was.
That's why we're here, though.
That is why we're here, actually.
Kind of similar to Galaxy's Edge, I think, that they've gotten Disney now for Star Wars, was what they were planning. A resort that would basically resemble the whole ship.
That's I'm thinking of a sketch of that. But
I think the difference with that is unlike Galaxy's Edge, that structure would have resembled the Enterprise, whereas the Galaxy's Edge resembles nothing. It doesn't look like a Star Destroyer. It doesn't look like a blockade runner. It resembles nothing. It does not capture the aesthetic, and that's something special that Vegas does. Vegas can actually capture an aesthetic of a place that it is not. And for some reason, Disney could not figure out how to capture Star Wars. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but that's just how Galaxy's Edge, like the hotel, it just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It fell off the edge.
Yeah.
There we go.
It kind of brings back and I know when I first visited Las Vegas, and I guess it was probably the first, 10 years or so, and I think Movestro alluded to the fact that it was, no matter how many times you visited Las Vegas, it was the same as how many times you stepped into the same stream. It was not the same stream. It was changed every time. And in those days, it was very much a themed hotel kind of approach. And there was still that residue of the family thing in Las Vegas. And just curious what everybody's thoughts were on the themed properties. Do you miss them? Do you still embrace the ones that are there? Are you kind of happy we moved away from that? Anyone?
I embrace the ones that are still there, and also embrace the ones that came up since then that are not themed. Like, I don't know, I'm just sort of all about it. So it's nice to go to Luxor and, see all that stuff, and then go to Paris and everything is in French, it's, and the Venetian, which is like my favorite. So, and get the Italian experience. I like it all, really. But I also like Cosmo, which wasn't themed on anything in particular. Or what's that one? The Cromwell.
The theme was decadence.
I think it's art. I think it's supposed to be modern art or something like that. It's kind of like Aria, how their theme is like opera-airish sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Really?
The theme,
I haven't noticed.
Yeah, that's the thing.
When you walk into the lobby and you see Christmas, that big thing that you don't really think Aria. So Italian opera. As an Italian, I don't think opera when I see that. So
I don't know. I think Ace went off the rails there a little bit. I don't know.
Possibly.
Help me with examples of what you would call a non-themed resort. Win and Encore, maybe?
Well, even that's lightly changed.
Yeah, that was a consciously non-themed resort.
Yeah.
Wynn did it for that reason to some degree, I think.
Yeah,
like
the actual designer, the designer of the interior was Steve told the designer of the interior to design something that hasn't been designed before. No theme, no copying or looking at others. A whole new reference, so it's totally new across the board. That was the goal.
Yeah.
But you got Waldorf Astoria. I mean, Mandalay Bay does have the theme of the tropics, but there's a few. What's Resorts World? It was Asian at first, then they scrapped that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that was that they had even had a theme to begin with.
They did.
There were supposed to be pandas. There was
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that
Yeah.
real fast?
It was
Just
going to
like
have
logistics.
a panda exhibit, and it had Asian theming. And
Yep.
if you look at the original rendering, it was going to be that. And then they had financing problems. They weren't going to build it, at least initially. And then they scrapped all the theming. They pulled it
And
all
they
out.
saw that
And
Lucky Dragon totally bombed. I mean, I think
Oh,
that
no.
they saw that. They're like,
Can we talk about Lucky Dragon for a minute too? Just how wasted that potential was.
Please reminisce on your many Lucky Dragon experiences.
Yeah, that's my -1 Lucky Dragon experiences, because the time I was there, I forgot that the place was even open, which was a shame because I was really excited to have an Asian themed Vegas casino. I always thought that would be a brilliant idea. Do something, Chinese or Thai or Japanese, something like that. Like it'd just be such a huge thing. You can pull things from ancient culture, you can pull things from modern culture too. And I think they had the right idea, wanting to capture some of the Asian market there, some of the high rollers in the Asian market, especially trying to bring them back from Macau. I thought that was a brilliant idea, but they just hyper-focused way too much. It was too small.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Exactly, Mini Kev. It was too small. Yep, that's right. And they didn't market well to locals because it wasn't in the right position on the strip. They had so many opportunities, and it was just such a wasted opportunity. Kino's saying it was trash. I recognize that, like, it was a great idea, and it was just so poorly executed, and we lost out on something brilliant.
I actually thought with Lucky Dragon, I thought there was a 50-50 chance that Resorts World has so much money that they actually owned it behind the scenes, and it was a test market. Do a small little pop-up casino to see what would work with Asians and Vegas in general, and then they would build a real one down the road at Resorts World. That's why I thought there was an outside chance of it, because it was so small, and I thought they were just test marketing things.
Yeah, generally speaking, if I can stand in one place and see the entire casino, it might need to be a little bit larger. The little Asian kitchen place looked pretty authentic and looked like it might be sort of well executed.
And they did work really hard on that. They did bring in actual Cantonese chefs and all that. It was very authentic cuisine, but Anyway, that's just my little rant on that.
I did make it there once. I think I have the player's card somewhere, but it didn't really amount to anything. But, yeah. Now now apparently there is a proposal to build a massive resort on the west side. As I assume probably at least some of you have seen reports of that, but I don't know how likely that is to actually happen.
I wonder if it's going to be Fountain Blue.
Is Fountain Blue going to happen? I think it is. I think it's going to actually happen.
Yeah, I got that on the calendar. July 13th, 2042.
All right. Hey, I'd be happy to celebrate my 79th birthday there, I guess. Something to that effect. No. So Ace, because you do bring, I think, a particularly erudite and yet humorous take to this whole thing. Your thoughts on the question that we asked about in this roundtable, and that is what Vegas means to you.
What Vegas means to me, that it's an interesting sort of thing, because it's really evolved over the years, and I think I'm not sure if it's an age thing right now or if it's just that I'm in a different place in life. Because when I started going to Vegas, this was the 2010s, keep in mind. So just to out myself on the age, that's when I started going. And it was very much going into that what happens stays here. What happens here stays here sort of era. So we're moving away from the family stuff, more into the let's have fun party scene, like Ocean. It was an Ocean's movie all the time. And that's what I initially really saw in it. But over time, it's really just been this, it's a sandbox. It really is a sandbox. Just that's the best way I can describe Vegas. It's every little thing that you want. It's the most customizable, separate little pocket reality that you can have, and it's something that's a huge thing I do love about it. I love being able to customize my trip. Like, I don't have to leave the pool if I don't want to. I've had entire vacations in hotels. Like I remember I've spent an entire vacation just at New York, only doing New York things for like 2 or 3 days and had a great time doing that. I've gone recently, we went for Halloween, Wonder Woman. Honey, you want to say hi? Hi, everyone. I'm not sure if you guys could hear that. It was Wonder Woman. She's just cleaning things. Yeah. Wonderful. Oh yeah, no, I know the Mike is wonderful, darling. But no, seriously, like we went together and we brought a few of our really close friends too, and we were able to share just so much. We were gallivanting around, taking little tastes of everything, and it's just this amazing. It's just so hard to describe. It just really reminds me of, if anyone's ever played the video game Grand Theft Auto, once you're done kind of with the story and you have everything unlocked, it's this just really huge experience that's got a low barrier to entry, but it's the sky's the limit. I really feel like it represents the potential of joy and how you can really just live your live your truth. It's living your truth and your most authentic self at the highest potential with little to no barrier to entry. And of course, my channel's focused on reducing that barrier to entry. When I say barrier to entry, I mean, money. I make it cheaper for everyone, but you can still do the full experience. Like you do you can go to an art show. They have these weird 3D art shows. We just went to go see Van Gogh. Beautiful, great stuff. We went to go to Hell's Kitchen to, eat Gordon Ramsay's like food and all that. You get the credits and all that, and you're having these beef Wellingtons, like just absolutely phenomenally done, like really great comfort food done at a fine dining level. And you can do that promptly before you go put on a Halloween costume and go get shots from a robot bartender down the street at Planet Hollywood. And there's nowhere else in the world. Macau gets close. New York's got that same type of energy. Tokyo's got all the randomness, but everything, just that ability to do that, you can't get it anywhere else in Vegas. And, whatever your truth is, you can live it there. And that's what I really love about it. That's what it means to me. It's living my truth to the best of my ability.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up New York City, because that was sort of Caitlin's first reaction when we arrived in July, was that reminded her kind of Times Square. That was the sort of analogy that she made. And,
I have a funny story about that too. Actually, I'll let you finish. But
no, you're fine. No, I think, and I guess maybe I'll briefly, so that I'm not taking over the thing. Discuss sort of my own sense of it. And I for years, I've kind of thought of Las Vegas as America writ large, the good, the bad, the ugly. There is a sense of adventure, a sense of possibility, also a sense of danger to some degree, a sense of sadness. There's a lot of sort of really down on their luck people in Las Vegas, and some of them are visitors, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of, at one level you have people betting $500 or $5,000 a hand, and I've met some of these people in passing who have scrapped together $10 or $20 and are trying to hit a Keno jackpot a nickel at a time to change their lives, I guess, however briefly. And I guess, that's in some ways, I guess that's what I'm attracted to, is that sort of sense in which this very unlikely destination, because it's really, the Spanish were seeking this sort of city of gold in the middle of the desert, and they were just maybe a couple hundred years too early to find it. And it, I just can't quite get enough of it. When I leave, I'm kind of ready to leave, but by the time I get home, it's kind of like, well, when am I going to get back? Right. And to address Ace's point, more and more as I've been more and more times, I find myself much more comfortable with the idea of staying at Mandalay Bay and focusing 90% of my trip on just being in that little South Strip area and really soaking it in. Obviously, for a first-time visitor, you want to check out everywhere, but I don't always make it to the Bellagio fountains anymore, and sometimes I don't make it downtown unless I'm staying there. And this past trip we barely touched the center strip, and that was okay too. Yeah, it is. You can kind of customize your vacation. You can kind of have 100 different kinds of experiences when you go, and most of the time they're good. But Vegas does bite you once in a while.
Definitely.
Sometimes that's not a bad thing. Sometimes we need a bite.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. That actually, I'm glad you brought up Caitlin, because that made me think of Wonder Woman's first trip there. We went there for I'm going to be cheesy right now, because we did go there for our first anniversary, and we got in there. I think we were on the 32nd floor, 34th, third floor. We were really high up in the tower at Mandalay Bay, so end of the strip, so you could see everything. And I think it's even in the room tour I took. It was the first room tour I ever did on the channel too, coincidentally. So I took her up there, and then we opened up the curtains, and I remember what she had said. She's like, "Wow, we're in the cradle of consumerism. This puts MOA to shame," because she's from Minnesota, obviously. So Mall of America being MOA, and I've been there too. And yeah, Mall of America really does have a very Vegas-y kind of vibe to it. If I could compare it to anything, if you guys know the shops at Mandalay, between Mandalay and Luxor, I could put side-by-side video next to it, and you'd be like, yeah, that looks pretty legit. That seems like something that you'd put there. And it's got very much that sort of theme to it. And I think it really does represent just the American spirit of entertainment. And it's just very similar to that there too. But, that got me thinking too about everyone else's first experience in Vegas too. I wonder if should we talk on that, or is that on your list, JR? What do you think?
Yeah, let's, you know what? I'm going to take like a very quick break. I think it's about time for me to have a shot of Fireball. And then, so if any of you need to take a bathroom break or grab a beverage of any sort, feel free. And I'll reconvene here in about, probably 90 seconds tops. So.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Like, is Mall of America a good comparison, or what do you guys think?
I've been there once, and I would say it was a long time ago, but that's a good comparison, especially retail wise.
Yeah.
And I have not been there, but I'm spinning through places I've been in my mind that come anywhere close to just how I feel when I'm in Vegas, and I can't come up with a match. So
yeah, I feel that.
That's the one thing about Vegas, is the one word is unique, in that there's no other place like it. There's places in Vegas that don't exist anywhere else in its form, different resorts.
Right.
And
you get close, but you can't match it. You're right.
And I don't know. I mean, I guess Macau comes kind of close, because there is the drag, the strip, but all the resorts, not all the resorts, there's the outlining ones, but there's the two resort corridors, Fremont and Las Vegas Boulevard, where it's just, there are some CVSs, of course, and there's still a gas station, but it's pretty much resort after resort after resort. Unlike New York, Miami, LA, they don't have that. We kind of have a hotel circle in San Diego where all the resorts, a lot of them are together, but it's not like Vegas.
Yeah, I did. The thing that I have noticed, and I'm sure you have too, Michael, is not Michael, Kevin. Both Kevins, but when you look back at old photographs of the Las Vegas Strip, even 30, but certainly 40 years ago, you have these long stretches where there are not hotels, where you have like little motels or a mobile gas station or some sort of a little diner or something. And I remember even on my first trip, there was a lot of walking, where you walked from one hotel to the other and there wasn't anything there. It wasn't like
I remember that.
It was just one casino.
I don't think I've ever experienced that. I've never experienced that, actually, believe it or not. As weird as that is.
Yeah. And I mean, they're getting rid of the Hawaiian Marketplace. That's going to be a hotel. That was about the last little stretch that wasn't just hotel.
Yeah, where they had like the gift shop and CBD stuff and all that. And yeah, right in front of, what was it, Polo Towers?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the late 60s, when Howard Hughes came to town, he bought he bought a lot of resorts, but also open land. He had to do that because he was basically forced into selling his TWA stock, which he owned most of it, about $500 million worth. And he kept the land barren on purpose because he was a germaphobe. He hated crowds. So he probably wanted to limit the crowds that were coming to Vegas when he was staying at the Desert Inn. So I've heard multiple historians say, yeah, he just kept that land open and he didn't want to develop it. And it didn't get developed till he died, and then they sold off the land.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm sure someone probably has, and it'd probably be an interesting book. Just the enormous impact, short and long term, that Howard Hughes and his corporation had on Las Vegas.
Now, I would be up for an ice station zebra themed casino. I mean, what better tribute could you pay to Howard Hughes than his favorite film?
Yeah. On that land.
Yeah, well, it's someone had suggested right before the break, the break that I created, I guess, that we might briefly share our first Vegas experience.
Oh, sure.
And I think all of us have kind of alluded to it, but I guess maybe if you didn't mention specifically where you stayed, the sort of what you did on the trip, that sort of thing, we can kind of go around the table. We'll go counterclockwise this time and do Kevin Dillmore.
Should we have our shot first, though?
I already
what you want to do? If you have a shot, it's time to do it.
Oh,
all right, we'll do it together.
Here, cheers.
So,
Click. The only thing from my first trip that I remember that I hadn't already mentioned, staying at MGM and seeing a comedy show, which was the first, real headliner comedy I'd ever seen in my life, was my first time that I went on the floor at MGM. And this was when everything was coins, so I was playing a $2 pull, where you're dropping the coins in and you're carrying these racks of coins. And I don't know that it was maybe my third pull on that machine that I won a $200 payout, which in 1992 wasn't a bad payout. That's the worst thing that ever could have happened to me. I mean, it's because it was like, this is easy, and nothing could be further from the truth. But I leave with more money than I go than not. Almost every trip I've ever made, even if it's $50, But that was just, I thought, I dug myself a little bit of a hole on that first trip because I thought it would be so easy. But
I always say the worst thing that can happen to anybody on their first casino visit is to win, because then they'll think that that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
If you just lose miserably a few times, then you'll get a much better sense of the reality of things. And so did you have anything else to add, or you want to?
No, I don't. That's, to be honest, those are really and the food. That I just enjoyed the wide variety of food, and again, back then I felt like that things were even cheaper than living in Kansas City, which, all things being equal, is not an expensive town.
Yeah, well, it's you said I'm curious just because of our recent experience, but you stayed at MGM Grand. Do you know if Emerald's was already open?
I'm almost certain it was not.
Okay.
I am not. I defer to the other Kevin as far as
I don't
historical things, but
yeah.
I don't remember that. I don't. It was really more just. I can't think of a single, name restaurant that we hit, but just everything we wanted to try, just it felt top notch.
Sure. All right, Ace, anything to add about your first experience?
Oh, it was magical, man. Like, there's a reason I'm still here. I'll tell you what, it was everything that a college kid could ask for. Like, got off the plane, out there with your best bros, and we were having a good time. We stayed at Luxor because we were poor, because that's how college works. You don't have any money. I think we might have scraped together. Each of us might have had $300-400 for like the whole stay. We had scraped that together, and we had gotten on Expedia, and booked.
That's still more than pennies for Vegas takes.
It's still more. Oh, because Mark can like $75. That's all he needs for a week because he's that good. But yeah, so we were doing that. We were doing real poorly. I think we'd all lost. We lost so much money at the tables because we were so undisciplined and so bad at timing. I remember winning $400 on a Wolf's Run slot machine. That one was pretty great. It was right as the cocktail waitress jumped up, and I was like, "Yo, that was my $20. I got it." And she's like, "You got it." And she was super young. I think she was new, so she was sitting there bouncing around with me and all that. So that was really fun. And she
literally bouncing.
She very much was very literally bouncing. I do remember that too. We went out drinking after that. Ran into this girl I'd spoken to on the plane. I think I took her to Gordon Ramsay's steak the next day. Picked her up from the Tropicana, and I was just like, Jesus, this is awful. What was that? So yeah, and we ended up going to the pool and all that. So it was everything that you ever wanted. And then I was like, oh, yo, I might even have a girlfriend after this. She never called me again after that because I didn't know that's how Vegas worked. But it was fun. It was fun, and it was every little fantasy that you ever wanted. You win some money. You go to like a famous chef's restaurant and all that. You get the big ass ribeye and all that. You have the wine. There's a pretty girl that goes home with you in a sparkly dress, and it's just a great time. So
yeah, I mean, it is a red flag. You never pick up a girl if she says she's staying at the Trop.
Yeah, I didn't know. I don't think she knew either. I think she was still she was there with some friends, and they're like, "Girl, let's go," and she's like, "Okay," and then she's like, "Yeah, this place was terrible. It's all smoke," and I'm like, "Well, I've got a better place. It's smoky, but it's also made of pyramid." And she's like, okay, because that works. That works at that age.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you say, hey, baby, you want to see my pyramid?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, and it worked. That's the sad part. It worked,
and it worked. That is a shame.
That, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you know you should never marry someone. If you tell them to, hey, this is my pyramid, when you come check it out and they agree to it, you've selected the wrong person. Just don't do it.
That's it. And just if you don't mind sharing, where were you attending university at that time?
Oh, CU. I'm a CU guy. Yeah. So CU Denver downtown.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Go Buffs.
Go Buffs. You got Neon Dion taking over the whole thing there.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's see how that goes. All right, Michael, your first experience about Vegas.
Yeah.
Or anything any more detailed than that.
They could be one and the same.
Well,
no,
you never know.
It wasn't. No. Anyway, but Vegas. So at the time, I wasn't really about Vegas. I've heard of it. I've seen commercials, and I didn't really care for it. And I was living in this house, and my housemate had all these comps and was much better to do financially than I was. I was like, how do you feel about, and he was like, how do you feel about Las Vegas? I was like, yeah, it seems like a waste of time to go there and, just waste a bunch of money putting it in machines and stuff and all that. Like, I'm not down for it. And he's like, well, yeah, take off next Friday because I have a lot of comps. I'm going to Vegas and you're coming with me. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to like it, but I'll go. And I was literally check to check at the time. I was working in customer service and stuff, tech support, but still it didn't pay much. So we went to Las Vegas from out of Burbank Airport, Bob Hope Airport, whatever it is. And, I get there and we land.
I saw Bob Hope live once. That's how old I am.
Wow. Wow. So I get there, we get to the airport and there's slot machines. And before that, I had only seen slot machines like on TV or something. So I'm like, wait, these are slot machines? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, in the airport? And he's like, oh yeah. Like they're everywhere, like grocery stores even. Yeah, it's that's just how it is. I'm like, damn, okay. Well, so I didn't play any there, of course. And we got to the hotel and he decided to stay at the Venetian, very, very opulent, especially back in, 2009. It was just wonderful. And so I walk in there and I'm awestricken of just how great it looks, and the paintings on the ceilings, when you get past the lobby area and the glowing lights ahead of what would be my first casino and just, like a bug drawn to a bug light, there I was heading towards the casino, and I get there, and it's just the symphony of sounds of the slot machines, because at the time they were all every song or winning sound or anything was always in the key of C. And so that no matter what machine it was, by what brand and what game it was, it all blended together and sounded just like a freaking electronic happy symphony as I was walking through. And I'm like, oh man, so I'm getting taken away by all this. And we get upstairs and it's a nice room and all that wonderful stuff. And, I remember looking out, we had a view of the pool area at Venetian. So I'm looking down and see it's the pool party. Even way up high, you can still hear the like reverberating in the windows, right? And I remember looking, and I couldn't get a good view, so I grabbed my camera and zoomed to see what kind of people were at the pool. And I immediately realized they don't want me there. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Ace,
except for Ace, I think what the rest of us have all felt.
Yeah, Ace.
Yeah,
Ace,
yeah.
That's because before I met Wonder Woman, Ace was a terrible womanizer. He licked the ladies.
yeah. I went to a Vegas pool once, and I was welcome from 1 to 115.
I was still doing tournament fighting back then too, so it was
nerds welcome 1 to 115.
1 to 115.
There you go.
1 to 150.
Caddyshack reference. There you go.
And then we went out to just, through the town and stuff. And I remember the first show that I saw was Blue Man Group. They were at the Venetian at the time. So got the Vegas show that I've heard of, so that was awesome. Got the Vegas show experience. And we went to Gallagher's Steakhouse at New York. To this day, I still go there. That's my favorite steak. I mean, I haven't really tried any other steakhouses, but when I find something I like, I tend to stick with it, and it's still there, thank God. So
man who's had 25 hangover burgers. So
yeah. So I just
he said chuckle. There you go.
And there was this interesting thing happened. I was very naive at the time. I didn't understand some things. So we're walking through the lobby of the Venetian. We're leaving the casino, and these three ladies were like, these three nice looking ladies were like, hey, you want a party? And I was like, yeah, I want a party. And my housemate grabs me.
He's like,
and
nope.
He says, no, he doesn't. He doesn't want a party. And I was like, why not? It sounds like it would be fun. I totally go on party. He's like, they're prostitutes. I was like, oh. So like, I didn't
How
know
old
things.
were you?
It was 2009. So
that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 46 now, so I can't do the math, but I mean, it was 14 years ago.
It was 14 years ago.
It's good for
32.
It was
Okay.
32, even better. I had no idea, like, hey, what you want to party, what that meant. Like, I didn't know. So, but it was just like the second I knew I was going to be sad when I left. Like, I remember at night, getting back to the hotel, just looking out the window and wanting to take in the view as much as I can from like whatever was there. And I think all I could see at the time was like Win Encore and Circus from that view. Not that Circus is anything to mourn the loss over, but like, but I hear they have a great steakhouse anyway. But I mean, I just want to take in Vegas.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard. And so, and since then, it's like as soon as I got back to where I was living, I just wanted to know more things about Las Vegas and history of it. Like I wanted to know everything about it as much as I possibly could. So, and unfortunately, yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention I had $20 to my name, and I decided it was time to actually play a slot machine. So I took
$20 in his pocket.
Yeah, I took $5, right, and I put it into a Hot Shot Progressive slot machine. 5 reels at the bottom, actual reels, and then a video screen on top. I put it in.
Were old school.
I won $40 first pull. Anytime I needed money, I went back to that machine and it just fed me money.
It was your ATM.
It was just like, oh, wait, I'm running low. Hold on a minute. 1, 2 spins. Bing, yay, $40. And I would take it with me. I was so impressed by that. It was a bad idea because, of course, what we were just discussing, if you win the first time, I know it wasn't like hundreds of dollars, but over time it might have been. And to me, that was a lot of money because I went to $20, right? So it was great that it happened. It was like lost the spirit of Vegas welcomed me in. And then slowly throughout my life, it showed me that that's not how it really works. Anytime I went back, it just never panned out quite good. I won jackpot, 750, no big deal, but that was it. But I love that first experience so much that you can't see it from here. In the corner of my living room, I have a Hot Shot Progressive slot machine, 5 actual reels on the bottom, a video screen on the top, just because of the sentimental value of it. So
Absolutely.
I have that moment right there in the corner of my living room.
The Michelangelo all the time.
Yeah, other than marrying the Kinos and creating the Vegas Bright website, probably the third thing that Movestro is best known for was during the COVID epidemic, he would invite everyone online. I think it was Thursday night, wasn't it?
I believe
it
was Wednesdays, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first time it was on Thursday, and then it became a Wednesday night tradition kind of a thing.
And he would if you joined the chat, you could get what was I think it was everybody got $5,000 because it didn't really matter. And play us through his. You would get to play 20 spins or something.
Yeah, it was still in development at the time. I didn't know what we were going to do. I just know that we were all desperate at the time to hear the sound of a slot machine and happy times because everything shut down. And I literally picked up that machine, which I had configured for quick hits at the time. Picked up that machine the day that the governor out here decided that as of 5 p.m. everything is closed for good. If it's not,
that was a long 2.5 months, man.
Yeah. So I went and picked up the slot machine that I had already seen and picked it up, brought it home, and I was like, boom, got it. And so I was like, I should do live streams with this thing, and we did. It was called Quarantine Slot Machine because everyone was home. And because of everything, so everyone was home, and I did my first live streams with it with my phone. I think it was not the best quality, but it was something, until I got better at it, and it was a good time. And that thing went on for, I don't even know how, Keynote, 2 years maybe. I know we started in March or April of 2020, and I think wrapped it up in 2021. 2022.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the wrap up, but I think I watched that one for sure.
Yeah. So and it became this whole thing where everyone can be somewhat together. Everybody got 20 spins each. If you won that night, you got a Tito from my slot machine, and I would mail it.
Although I think I won once, and I never got that damn Tito to see.
Oh,
no such thing.
Shade.
I always sent out the Tito, so maybe it didn't show up. But my mailbox. The mailbox was right. Well, I'm in a different place now, but it was
Z9. There you go, Crystal.
Z9.
There you go.
So yeah. I'll find the episode. I'll try to replicate the amount.
Somehow I'll live without it if it was the case. But yeah, wow, those are crazy times.
I almost won once. I think who was it? I think 2 Cent actually beat me. I was close. That was the closest. It was either 2 Cent or Sentiment. I can't remember who beat. I want to say it was 2 Cent.
My greatest accomplishment was winning the Hagen 2 Cent UK-US Challenge. Where I think I had to beat Ace in the first round. Then I ended up against
slaughtered me.
Well,
in the blackjack. I think we were pretty close in the trivia and the contest that mattered.
Then you did not have much luck on the blackjack.
I got demolished in the blackjack, which is ironic because that's my game.
What do you call it? Matrix 2020 had me dead to rights. I literally could win on one card. And I got that freaking card. So somewhere I have a nice little polo shirt that has a Plaza logo on it. And I once wore it at the Plaza, and someone asked me if I worked there. So I guess it kind of worked. But yeah, so now there was something Michael said that I was going to follow up on, but now I don't remember. And we haven't heard from Vegas Visual in a little bit. He's definitely had time to contemplate his 1981 trip. I can't imagine you were old enough to go at that age.
Well, real quick, I want to say the three of them have great, unique first impressions, with Kevin with the big gambling win, and then Ace with the classic party scene, and then Movestro with the interior design of the Venetian. Those are probably the three things that people love about Vegas: the architecture design, the party, and the gambling win. And that's just great how each of them had their own.
Oh, and Venetian is
that.
definitely my favorite themed casino, just because I think they
It's
do it so
gorgeous.
well.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, back in 1981, I was underage, so I was not.
I was going to say, I didn't think you were as old as I was. So.
I was not able to partake in the adult activities. So, but like I said
earlier,
earlier,
except for the prostitutes, that was okay.
Yeah.
Back in
You can't say that.
You can't say that. That was a joke. Clean that right off.
Oh man, we're
Just
canceled.
quick-
Good night, everybody.
A
Night
quick
all.
review, because I mentioned earlier driving northbound or riding northbound on the strip and seeing the MGM Grand 73 version, the lights of the Port Corsair, just amazing. And then right north of that is the Flamingo feather sign that at the time was 4 years old, and I didn't know how new it was, but it was just mind-boggling. So
Did the Hilton own it at that point?
that would be I believe Hilton. I don't remember it saying Hilton. It's so far.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
The distinct memories I have are seeing the Port Cochere blinding lights, and then the Flamingo feather sign.
Yeah.
And again, because it was 81, that's pre-internet, let alone pre-YouTube. So I had little concept of the actual visual of Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
So Vegas visual was lacking the visuals of that time. And so it was much more of a blinding, changing perspective on what this place was. I knew what it was like, an idea, a concept. I didn't see many photos or videos, or it wasn't on the news or TV shows. So it was such a, it's hard to describe how you could just go from having limited knowledge to driving down that street at that time. And then the other,
probably a little overwhelming.
Yeah, and the other limited, even more limited memory is going to Circus and staying there. I really don't have any specific memory. The two memories are that Port Cochere MGM Grand and the feather sign, and just wow, this is a different place here. You know?
Did you actually stay with Hunter S. Thompson there?
No one else has positive memories of Circus.
I was going to say, I mean, there are people who pay good money to have their memory scrubbed of Circus. So, bless you.
And remember, doing the math, I guess Circus was about 12 years old. And right now, Cosmo is 14 years old. So Circus was newer than Cosmo.
Yeah, that reminds me. I mean, I think it was a couple of years ago that they were talking about, I think, potentially demolishing Luxor or Excalibur for some sort of new resorts or something.
I remember that. Like they said
and I was like, well, I wonder, if I go back and look at casino resorts over the years, how long they lasted. And it was like, well, it really wouldn't be that surprising if a 25, 30-year-old resort went away.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot.
A lot of them, it's 40 to 50 years. If you look at the numbers on the Desert Inn and Sands, I mean, those are two iconic. Desert Inn and Sands are the two big boys, plus Stardust probably. Those are the three. That's the holy trinity of strip resorts, and they were 50-ish years.
Yeah.
And the longest one, obviously, is Flamingo. I mean, the original building is gone, but it's now
everything is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
There? I think there's still a little part of the Tropicana that was there originally. That's what I've heard.
The two wings, they're called the bungalow wings, left and right. Those are original rooms. Those are the oldest rooms on the strip, 1957. But what's the second oldest room? Who has the second oldest, you think?
MGM Grand in their West Wing rooms.
Much older than that. It's
older than those.
Let's give us a minute. Let's give everybody a chance to guess.
All right, let me actually think about it. Most of that was me.
Circus.
I don't want to give any more hints because it'll give
Caesar's Palace. Is that original tower? Would that be it?
Well, I don't want to give it. I'm kind of cheating a little bit. That's the one hint I'll give. I'm kind of cheating on this one a little bit because it's not one you're going to think of.
Well, it's not.
I know that my parents.
Vegas World.
Help me remember when I stayed at Bally's when my daughter got married, and it's no longer Bally's. What is it now?
Horseshoe.
Okay, it's Horseshoe. But before it was Bally's, it was MGM, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because my parents were there right around the fire.
Yeah.
But I think there's still some original rooms from that building, aren't there?
Yeah. So that would be 73, but this is older than that.
Okay.
And older than Caesar's, which is 66.
When did Imperial Palace go up?
The Imperial Palace was
80s,
originally opened
79?
as the Flamingo Capri.
Right.
Yeah.
even though I don't think it was ever officially associated with the Flamingo. Correct?
No, it was one of the owners of the Flamingo Capri that started it was an executive at Flamingo, and that's I think why he named it that. But and they actually shared business. But so I'll go real quick. It's the Travel Lodge, so I kind of cheated there. Travel Lodge.
I was gonna.
That's
Martin
kind of
D,
cheating.
where you at, man?
Yeah.
Where's Martin D?
1958. It's a is when
Which
it became
one?
the Travel Lodge.
One mid strip?
No, the North Strip one.
Right by
by
Circus.
Okay.
Yeah, the one
Just
by
north of Circus.
Fountain Blue,
Okay.
like right across from Fountain Blue.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The one that's for sale for $30 million, which is $300,000 a door at 100 rooms. That's what they're trying to sell it for.
Gonna pass on that one.
I don't think the whole property's worth $300,000. Wait, did I say that out loud?
I don't know. Maybe the real estate is. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the
it's all about the land.
Sell for that.
Wow.
They
and then after that would be
300,000.
Sahara. I think the third oldest.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the properties that closed, and I've read some things. The one property that Las Vegas locals were very sad to see leave was Desert Inn.
Yes,
apparently they had a very good relationship with a lot of the people in the community, and well, I mean, just good restaurants, good place to spend time. Even I guess law enforcement. Everybody was pretty cool with Desert Inn. So the interesting story I have about Desert Inn, and then maybe I'll share my original Vegas experience briefly. I went there and played, I don't know, probably 98, 99, I don't know, briefly, because I spent a lot of time on the north end of the Strip the first few times I went to Vegas, because there were a lot of inexpensive properties there. Riviera, Sahara, those were cheap places to stay. And I used to always play those like Game King games, and I played a lot of blackjack, even though the rules were terrible, but still probably better than most slot machines.
They're still pretty bad rules.
Yeah, still pretty bad rules. But yeah, so yeah, I spent a little bit of time at the Desert Inn. I put maybe $20 in. I played like $1 a hand on the blackjack, and I don't know if I broke even or won $20 or lost $20. I'm not really sure. But shortly after the Wynn opened up, I actually got a mailing from the Wynn offering me, I think, like 2 or 3 free nights, and I have to assume that came from the fact that they bought the all of the gambling information
list,
from Desert Inn. Yeah. So, and I still have that that envelope and that letter, because I was just kind of blown away, because this was going to be the newest resort in Las Vegas, and they were offering me rooms, but I wasn't able to take advantage of it. But fortunately, I have been able to stay there a few times. Let's go. That brings to mind another idea, and if any of you need to go, just let me know. We're over the 1 hour that we talked about.
But I'd like to throw a question up.
What do you got, Ace?
Oh no, I was gonna say I got time. So
no, I got time too. I just didn't want anybody to feel like they had to hang out. Of all the places you've stayed in Las Vegas, which one really? It may not have been the best property, but it may have been your best experience staying in Las Vegas. Where do you think that might be? We'll go clockwise again, back to Vegas Visual.
I could always go to that first trip, because that's kind of cheating though, because then it's your first experience with Circus, sure. And it was in good shape, obviously, and only 12 years old. I'd have to go there, but to this day, I tend to gravitate towards the historical and themed resorts.
Go to Golden Gate, you'll love it. Oh, sorry.
Just ask for the Movestro room, and it comes with a fan.
Staying at the El Cortez, one of the original 47 rooms built when it opened up. That was really nice. Just the thumping noise from the Commonwealth Bar was unwelcome. That would be, and just the whole being able to stay at a resort that was the first luxury resort in Las Vegas. The exterior is almost exactly the same. Mm-hmm. It's a historical landmark because of that. They can't
A
change the
huge
exterior.
part of that casino is still original.
Yeah, and yeah, almost all of it. Just the green signage has
Yeah, that
changed in
big
the
chunk
50s,
around.
and then it stayed the same. And the interior has changed around. They've moved walls, so that's doesn't go. But to be able to walk up the stairs from the casino into the hallway and walk into one of the original 47 rooms where the footprint hasn't changed. At the Golden Gate, they don't have original rooms as far as I know. Their original rooms were 100 square feet. That doesn't exist. They've doubled them with 2 rooms in one.
Yeah,
so to be able to stay there was just magical, basically.
Yeah. No, I'll take Elko over Golden Gate anytime.
Yeah, that's fair.
For sure.
I was going to say, I know someone who works for that complex that would also take anything over Golden Gates.
I do. I still like hanging at the Prohibition Bar. They're pretty generous with
No,
it.
yeah, you can play there. I just wouldn't stay there.
Yeah, I'd stay. Well, the suites are okay, but they're a little overpriced. They're basically hotel rooms.
I hate to offer a correction on such a historian as Vegas Visual, but the Golden Gate,
my goodness, this could be a controversy.
Does have the original 10, which is original 10 rooms that were there when the Golden Gate first opened, as advertised on their website. I remember because outside each of those rooms was this little placard, and it was like the original 10. And I remember that Dell, Neon Vacation, actually was able to stay in one of those rooms. And it was,
I think Anastas did too.
Yeah, it was tiny as tiny would be, trying to keep it PG.
Tiny as football.
Tiny as a football. Yes, love it. They're tiny. But there's 10 of them. I didn't stay at one of those personally. I stayed at one that was theoretically more modern, but only in theory, because you shouldn't be offered a box fan when it's 70 degrees outside. Just saying.
It was more like 90 degrees outside.
Oh, I actually stayed at one of those original 10. I got photos and videos of it, and I recently got confirmation that the original rooms were $1 a night, 100 square feet, and if you add the bathroom and shower, I don't think they're now 100 square feet. I also read where they've doubled them up. They've taken 2 rooms and made it into one, because imagine 10 by 10 feet, how small that is. That's the original room. And when you stay in, at least in the original room that I stayed in, that had the plaque and one of the 10 original rooms, that's not 10 by 10 feet. So I'm like 90% certain.
I'm wondering the actual bedroom part might have been original. There probably wasn't even an attached bath back then. You probably had to go down the hallway.
Because we're talking 1906, so you probably had shared bathrooms. So your own bathroom didn't exist. So at the very least, the bathroom was added, and possibly square footage of the room itself. So you could say it's original in that part of that room is original, but if walls are moved around, square footage has changed, I don't consider it original.
Yeah. What was that hotel, the motel originally called?
It was the Hotel Nevada.
Okay, that's right. Because it was across the street was the Overland motel, I think.
Overland was across the street.
Correct. The one that eventually became part of the Las Vegas Club and now is gone because it's Circa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems original.
So I still want to dig deeper into that and get confirmation, but I'm fairly certain if you go by original square footage, which El Cortez, those original 47, the walls haven't changed, the square footage hasn't changed.
Yeah. And some of the furniture may not have changed. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
Huh.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we've come back around to my first Vegas experience, and I guess I will abridge it as much as I can. If anybody wants to hear it in much more detail, you can subscribe to the podcast. I like Movestro. I went through not only my childhood, but most of my early adult life looking down on Las Vegas. I remember growing up, my parents would turn on the Dean Martin roasts, which I think at some point actually came from the MGM Grand, the original, the Bally's.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Now I look back and I watch some of the clips and I'm like, this is hilarious as fuck. But when I was a kid, I was like, it's hilarious as fire trucks. But when I was a kid, I was just like so bored with this. And I thought Vegas was so, I don't know.
Passe, as they say.
That's the right word, passe. Had no interest in it. I was like, oh man, I'm so cool. I listen to Deep Purple in Kansas. I don't go to
Hey, careful.
freaking Vegas.
Careful.
I know, right? We're the people of the South Wind, aren't we?
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, and so I guess I first kind of connected with casinos after they got casinos in Missouri and Illinois. And the first casino I went to was the Casino Queen, which is in East St. Louis, Missouri, which, by the way, if you want to drive around in the middle of the night, East St. Louis is not the place to do it. But
now, isn't technically East St. Louis in Illinois?
It is.
I think so.
Illinois. Yes, it is. It is. It is. And I went to St. Louis a number of times in the early to mid 90s. In fact, I went there in, I think it was 1993 with the big flood. And when because I wanted to see what was going on, I get to the banks of the Missouri River, and there's like a CNN reporter interviewing people. But honestly, that really wasn't flooding in St. Louis. It was just outside the area. But yeah, and I actually had that same bad experience that Kevin did about actually winning some money at the Casino Queen. I'm like, ooh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I had met a girl online, because we've probably all done that, who lived in the San Francisco area. And so the following year, I decided that I would make my way out to San Francisco, spend some time there, because, you know, after I did some research, pretty cool city. I always said it was actually my favorite city, but I don't know, things I hear about San Francisco lately, I'm not sure I want to wander around there anymore, but that's another show. I actually ended up taking Amtrak. I took the Amtrak, which runs out of Lawrence, Kansas, the Southwest Chief, and it goes all the way out to Los Angeles. And from there, you can catch the Coast Starlight, which runs all the way up to Oakland, California. And then from there, they'll like bust you across the street to San Francisco. So I spent some time there. On the way back, I ended up having to adjust my schedule so that I stopped in Reno, Nevada. And the first casino I ever stayed at was Circus Circus in Reno.
But that's the better.
I think it is probably the better Circus, honestly. It was.
It's kind of like the California Harrah's. That's the good one.
Exactly.
You say the better Circus, and is that like the better cold sore?
It's like the kick in the shin as opposed to the kick in the knee.
It's the one not over here. It's the one that's over here. Anyway, there you go. That's our show. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, good night, everybody. Yeah, no. But yeah, so between the experience in St. Louis, the experience in Reno, and shortly after that, Kansas City, also Missouri, got casinos. That
was my first casino experience.
Yeah, they were the riverboat casinos. You had to pay like $2 to get on the boat, and it was like a 2-hour cruise. Yeah, exactly. And I actually cruised in. I did cruise once in Kansas City, which is surprising. But that was not actually the reason I ended up going to Nevada and going to Las Vegas. And, well, you know, the wife may see this, but that's fine. It was 30 years ago. One of the major reasons I ended up going to Las Vegas, because there was a girl that I was kind of attracted to that I worked with. And I had kind of hung out with her. And I was pretty good friends with a very close friends of hers, and they were going to go to Las Vegas. And I had set up a trip where I was going to return to Reno, actually go to Lake Tahoe, and spend about a week in San Francisco. But they had planned a trip to Las Vegas over like 3 nights. And I was like, well, let's see if I can readjust my trip, because it was over a weekend, to go up there. And again, I was like Movestra. I was like a little bit, Vegas, I don't know about this stuff. I mean, I'm not a Vegas person. I like the casinos. But I don't know. From the minute I got there, it was kind of magical. As I mentioned earlier, I rented a car from Avis, and I sat in a fire trucky line for like an hour to get this car. My friends were staying at Flamingo, and they generously agreed to let me sleep in the room because I didn't have a room. And I got in the rental car finally. I turned on the radio, and literally within seconds, the song that came on the radio was by Faith Hill, and it was a song called "Hey Baby, Let's Go to Vegas." And
the one where she wants to go.
Hey
to
baby,
yeah,
let's go to Vegas.
It's not goodbye. Hey baby, let's go to Vegas. Something and let it ride. Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna let Ace do all of my vocals from now on. And so
he wants to get canceled. He wants to copyright strike.
I literally pull out of the the parking lot there, and that was before they had the integrated car rental location there. So I pull out of there, and I kind of know where I'm going because I study this stuff. It's something I do. So I get out. I'm probably on, I don't know, Sunset maybe. I don't know. And I pull up, and I know, and I think I go up on what probably was, what's that other street? Not Tropicana, but the one just to the east of that goes right into the airport. Doesn't matter.
Harmon, but
no, but that's okay. So I eventually pull around, and I at that point it's like mid 90s. I'm like, I drive by, and there's the Thomas and Mack Center. And being a basketball fan, UNLV, kind of knew the whole Thomas and Mack Center thing. And I eventually
Paradise,
get
that's right. Denise has it, Paradise.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And I get on the like Tropicana or whatever it was, and I make my way over to Las Vegas Boulevard. And the first thing I remember seeing was the construction site at New York, because it was not yet built. It was in the process. So I make my right turn on Las Vegas Boulevard. Not a lot going on there yet, but I do remember the giant excavation pit in front of Bellagio, which of course became Lake Bellagio. And somehow I actually found my way into the parking garage at Flamingo, met my friends, dropped off my luggage, went downstairs. At that time, my game was blackjack, and I played blackjack probably for 2 or 3 hours. My friend had given me like $50 to play roulette with. I played that for a while. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I went to whatever the coffee shop was at that point at Flamingo and had some pancakes. And so my first night in Vegas, I finally made it up to the room right as the sun came up. And I think that's probably the way to do it. And the thing I remember about that trip was like, I guess I should probably come back here because I didn't really see everything I wanted to see. And I guess probably that's happened 50 more times.
There's always one more thing.
Yeah. There is always one more thing. And maybe it's 9:22, so maybe we'll start trying to wrap this thing up. Maybe
can I throw one question to the panel real quick?
Absolutely, Kevin. Absolutely.
Because I'm curious. People ask me this, and I don't have what I feel like is a good answer. I feel like the four of you would. For a first timer, for someone who is going out for their first time, in 2023, where would you recommend they stay?
Ooh.
Just whatever order you want to take it is fine.
Michael in the corner.
Yeah, Mike, you go for it, man.
This is usually what I tell people. I say for your first day, you definitely want to stay on the Strip. You want to visit downtown. You don't want to stay there just yet. No. That's something that you do when you get up.
As long as you're going to be there 3 nights, you go there 1 night.
Yeah.
But you don't stay there.
What I say is start somewhere center Strip. It could be Cromwell. It could be Horseshoe. It could be Bellagio, Flamingo even. Somewhere around there. Day 1, go out, turn left, explore it all.
Yep.
Day 2, turn right, explore it as much of it as possible because it gets kind of farther down there.
Yeah.
You get Win Encore and all that. Yeah. Definitely do Peppermill. And that's usually what I say. Take a day, explore this way, and take a day and explore that way. Take one of your nights and go downtown. Not during the day, downtown.
Dead on.
Nighttime.
That is dead on.
Just 3 things: center Strip, water, and well-worn shoes.
Exactly.
Yes. No high heels.
It was so funny. Well, I guess now it's been I don't know, week and a half, 2.5 weeks. I don't know. We get back from Las Vegas late on a Thursday night because our flight got delayed, and the wife is like, "Oh my God, these shoes are so uncomfortable." I'm like, "Honey, hey, there's this guy called Vegas Tips and Tricks, and he did this video once about his best tip about Las Vegas, and it was wear comfortable shoes."
Did you Ace of Vegas at your wife? You never do. I'm the reason you don't do that.
No, I did it in a way that she laughed at it. It was fine, but yeah, no.
I do that all the time. I get in trouble though.
Yeah. Based on if you want to be on a budget of some sort, and even, I mean, honestly, I'd recommend Bally's/Horseshoe. That's the first place I'd tell people to stay.
Oddly enough, that's where I have told people I've probably stayed there 4 or 5 times. I just have it's just a pleasant experience, and I like where I'm located.
Yeah, the rooms are big, comfortable. In my experience, have been clean. The casino's okay, but you're within like 100 feet of 5 or 6 other casinos. So,
and you have the monorail behind you, and you also have. It might be the only deep pool on the strip, right? It has the deep pool.
That's true. If you want to swim laps, that's where you want to go.
The one. I thought about this for a long time, honestly. I'm usually between Planet Hollywood and Mirage. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Both of them are pretty good for entertainment. They're a good center strip. But the big thing for me is that they're not excessively large to get through. And that's the one thing that people always forget about. You don't want to stay at Caesars. You don't want to stay at MGM Grand. You don't want to do that because, you're coming back. You're tired. You're gambling all night.
Probably Venetian.
Yeah, you've been drinking. Yeah, and you cannot wander through 6 football fields just to get back to your room. I remember doing that. Like, it was our first trip because we spent some time at Luxor. We spent some time at MGM Grand. And going through the MGM Grand after the club, you're smashed. That's hard enough. But like, it gets annoying even doing regular things like going down to the pool. You get down there, like you're in your swimsuit. You got all your stuff. And you're like, shoot, I forgot my wallet. So you got to go back. You got to go up you got to get back in the line. You got to go up the elevator. You got to
hour and a half later. You're
finally
back.
It's like, it's like minimum 20, 30 minutes just to get there. So I always recommend somewhere because Mirage historically, it's not too big, not too small. It's in that Goldilocks zone. It's just right, and it's in this good spot. Planet Hollywood, a little farther downstrip, but it's still in that Goldilocks zone of it's easy to get through it's easy enough to get through the casino to your room.
I mean, if you can afford it, and you don't need like a huge room.
Yeah,
that's what I love about Cromwell.
Yeah, Cromwell is gorgeous for that. Link is actually pretty good for it.
Really?
Yeah, Link is actually surprising because it's physically a relatively small casino. You can cut through it pretty easily and just get to the towers, get to those Imperial Palace towers really easily.
Yeah.
So the one thing about Vegas is the hotel towers on the strip, most of them, the mega resorts, the towers are much bigger than they appear in photos or video.
Yeah.
And then you get there and say, it's only right down there. Let's go walk.
And
it is not. Towers are so huge, they look closer than they are.
I was going to say in scale, if they're in scale, then you're like, okay, well, that's over there. They all look the same size. It's just over there. But no, it's a half mile down. Every block is half a mile.
Yeah, when you were describing MGM, it brought into clear focus a real memory. That was the first place I ever stayed. You know what Spielberg call that dolly switch? Like when they're coming in on Sheriff Brody when he first sees
the dolly
that's
dolly
what
swing.
It looked like every time I walked down the damn hallway. Yeah. Every time I had that. It never ever stopped.
Everything. So you don't want to stay. Yeah, that's why. I mean, I barely recommend Mandalay Bay because it's so large. But
it has a really good name, MGM Grand.
Yeah. MGM Grand. Caesars is too big. Bellagio's too big. Wynn is too big.
But I mean, you can get like the most ridiculously long hotel hallway walks in the strangest places. That New York has some ridiculous ones. Orleans, you could those things are ridiculous. It's like a football field to get to the freaking.
And
Even
it
the
isn't
D
so
is
much.
kind of hard to navigate in that
Yeah.
way sometimes.
It-
like
It's
downtown.
not so much the size, because Excalibur and Luxor are two of the, I think, top 12 biggest hotels in the world. They're up there with Caesars and MGM
Yeah.
Grand, but
Yeah.
the layout in Caesars is just a hodgepodge, and you can easily get confused.
Well, I think that's the thing, because
and-
the campus is larger. Like the campus is larger, but they're like large in the sense that they only count rooms. They don't
Right.
think about the size of the whole like resort. Is the
Right.
weird thing about it?
Yeah.
Well, it's good advice. Thank you. I will keep that in mind for sure.
There was advice involved.
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
It seemed legit.
Center Strip. I mean, go one direction day one, go one direction day two, and do a night downtown.
Yeah, I mean the
very
thing
easy to remember.
about Center Strip is Bellagio and Caesar's Palace are both overpriced.
Radical.
I think
Bellagio
that's a- I think
especially.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, like there's always like horseshoe.
Cromwell is usually a little pricey. Flamingo, that's close, but it's a little trashy.
No, it ain't.
I'd rather stay
Oh.
at Flamingo than Harrah's any day of the week.
I would
I'm not
too.
sorry about that.
I would too.
The flaming O, the dirty bird.
over Harrah's effing lutely.
Oh, I'll take Flamingo.
Yeah.
Say the F word? I
Who'll
don't know.
take Flamingo over Harris? Hands up.
No questions. Up top, man.
Okay, we got 3. That's a
Yeah,
win.
that's all.
Four
That's
out,
all.
that's a
Yeah,
win.
that's
Yeah.
5 out of 5.
No, I'm not a big fan of Harris.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because Harrah's is trash.
Oh,
I do
like
not
the-
represent Vegas tips and tricks. This is a purely Ace of Vegas opinion.
Although the Harris in Kansas City, I'm told, has a fantastic steakhouse. I think it's a Gordon Ramsay.
I've been there. It's pretty good.
Friend of mine.
It is
who,
literally Gordon
is a-
Ramsay Steakhouse. You can get the beef
the
Wellington
Wellington.
and everything.
Yeah, a buddy of mine that is a
good.
professional barbecuer. Actually, he is now the CEO of Kansas City Barbecue Society, which in the barbecue world is a pretty big deal. Said he had a top 3 meal of his life at that Gordon Ramsay Steakhouse at the soft opening he was invited to.
No, it's nice. It's nice. If you live in Kansas City and you have one of those diamond celebration meals, you don't really need to go to Vegas to do it. You can do
Definitely.
it there.
I miss Tender Steakhouse now at Excal. That was a pretty good steakhouse.
Was it really?
For the budget, definitely
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
You could get a lot. You could get a lot of good stuff out of there for not a lot, not a lot of money. Like especially when they did the credit with My Vegas, you can get like $50 or $100 off and all that. Like,
Sure.
chef's kiss, loved it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to share about their Las Vegas lives and experiences here tonight? We're running at about an hour and a half, so I figure we'll probably jump off here pretty soon, unless someone has something interesting to share. At this point, someone should.
We could probably this group. I bet you we could go on for hours just talking about random things. Like I didn't even talk about the taxi line and how nightmarish that is, and how you don't want to do that your first trip. But like if you're gonna pay money, I'd probably say if you're looking to pay money, then just pay a little extra. Get the limo. You're gonna. The experience is out of this world. It's much better. And if you just want to cheap, just use an Uber otherwise, but don't get in the That's all I can say.
I'm gonna agree with the limo part because
limo's worth it.
Particularly if you want to impress the ladies, because that
is what Ace is always trying to do. That's the plan. Specifically, the one that lives at my house.
I don't know. I mean, I anymore. The Uber line, the Uber mess is almost worse than the taxi line.
They do a lot of surge pricing at the airport.
That's what I experienced.
They're doing that a lot now.
Exactly.
Yeah, last few times I had to take a cab.
If you schedule it though, you can usually you usually get a better deal. Like if you schedule it before you fly in, I have a better.
I think that might be a Vegas tip or trick.
There it is.
Think about that.
I'll make it short for you. I got you.
Sounds good. Yeah. No. So when is everyone planning to head back to Las Vegas? If you have plans to head back to Las Vegas.
Apparently, this old man is having a birthday soon.
Woo!
Which I don't hang out with old men. I don't know anything about that.
I've never been publicly disinvited, but thanks.
No, that's gonna be my next trip is early September, probably
That's
the
the
third
next time I'm
through the
planning on
8th.
going.
Yeah,
If as things fall together,
if everything
that's the
works
next
out.
one. Yep, it should work out great for me.
Sounds good.
Yeah, what about you, Mikey? When you going?
I think it's July for Cinnamon's thing.
Oh, when in July?
Sometime in July. I forget. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have
July.
Her birthday's in July, I think. Isn't
That's
it?
right. I think I'm
Yeah.
just gonna miss you guys because I do know when Cinnamon's birthday is, and I think I'm gonna be there like the weekend after for a family reunion because my cousin, she kind of wild like that, and that's what her and my aunt wanted to do for the family reunion. So I'm like, okay.
My arm.
I'm the de facto tour guide, unfortunately, as a result.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact
So I
you could
gotta
jump
do
on a
tourist
plane
stuff.
and be there in an hour.
yeah, I know. Yeah, but I got to do the tourist stuff this time.
Hashtag Fly Frontier.
You just want
So
me to finish
Michael-
the rest of this, don't you?
Michael,
Yes,
I have
I
a question
did.
on the Flixbus. How did
Yeah.
that work out?
It worked out all right. Although like 3 hours into it, they canceled my return trip. But I mean, that ended up being a good thing because I got an extra day in Vegas, and I would have that night if I knew I had to leave that morning. The next morning, I would have been able to enjoy it as much as I did because I would have been focused on, all right, I got to be up at a certain time and be at this really horrible part of First Street to get on the bus. But it worked out good. I mean, it showed up on time, and I got on that thing, and had that chill experience and time to think, and got there, and everything was fine. Dropped off Fashion Show Mall and grabbed a Lyft or an Uber and went to where I was staying. And I don't even remember where I stayed now, but I stayed somewhere. I don't remember where I stayed. What is up with that?
Nice to
Well,
know that
you
he
know.
stayed somewhere.
He stayed somewhere. I had to stay somewhere.
Extra hashtag on the vodka.
Yeah.
But
What hotel picks you up with a rag of chloroform over your mouth? That's where I
I don't
stay.
know. But one that would do is
I
Golden
think
Gate.
that's the bridge you're in.
I was gonna say that also sounds like Harris.
Was I at Excalibur? I think maybe I don't.
No, Denise has got you. It was the Plaza.
Denise says Plaza.
Holy crap! I don't remember because I went to downtown immediately.
It's
I went
always
to
bad when you
downtown
have to ask.
immediately.
You
That wasn't
left.
that long
Yeah,
ago.
you did.
No, I think it was like oh my god! I stayed at Park MGM. At Park MGM. Then I went to Luxor and met up with the Kinos, and then I went downtown, and that's when I felt the most alive because it was just the lights, the music, everything is just like electricity.
It is so sad that I keep
yeah.
forgetting that Park MGM
It
exists.
was almost like
So did I.
Is that the least memorable hotel in Vegas, Park MGM?
I think so.
I
keep
think
wanting to stay there, and then I always decide that there's someplace better.
I feel like there's no flavor at Park MGM. I know that
It's-
PJ
yeah, it's-
loves it because it's smoke free, and I know that's his home base. And I love PJ, no questions asked, but I just feel like it doesn't have any flavor.
I actually kind of like the center. I kind of hung out at the center bar a couple of times, and I kind of actually it was kind of a cool place. But I mean, as far as staying there, and I thought I might do it in September, but then I looked at the remodeled rooms at New York, the Soho rooms.
Oh yeah,
And they all have like 55-inch TVs and refrigerators, and I'm like,
This is the way.
I think I'll take that over Park MGM.
Oh yeah, no question.
So
Is that where you're planning to make your base for the birthday?
I'm probably going to split it between MGM and Caesars, and I might do the first 2 nights at New York, and the last 3 nights at Planet Hollywood, because they would all be comped, so that would work out pretty
Yeah,
well.
may as well. May as well.
So we'll see. I haven't fished, but I did finally officially after like 10, 11 days. I finally got officially my days off for that. So I'm officially off from the 3rd to the 9th of September. So it is going to happen one way or the other. And hopefully we'll see some of you there. But if not, we'll see some of you again somewhere soon.
Indeed.
All right. Anything any of you all want to add before we go ahead and cut this thing off for the night?
We should do some obnoxious applause for our host JR today for inviting us on this thing, because
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I appreciate all of you for joining me tonight. I had a really good time with this. It was kind of fun. I don't know if we had a lot of people joining us, but we will. This thing will be reposted in the Facebook and the YouTube channel and everything. And if you enjoyed doing it, if you want to do it again sometime, maybe in a few months, we can reassemble. Maybe not exactly the same group of people, but I would love to do another Vegas roundtable, and I definitely enjoyed doing it with all four of you.
Disinvited twice now. I've been like, just like, wait a minute.
It's okay. We're all disinvited.
I think Kevin is very insecure, and yet he's the one I have actually hung out at a casino with most recently, and we both walked out with $200. So.
We did.
Woo!
We did.
Good time. So
you know,
make your way up to Lincoln. We'll cash out at that casino again sometime.
Yeah,
soon.
well, or in any time that if any of you accidentally find yourselves in Kansas City, I would be more than happy to take you to places to eat or places to game that would be nowhere near the quality of Vegas, but you know,
Yeah.
we've got our share of decent casinos.
So you know, we've
going
got
to
at this
Kansas
point,
City. Kansas
sorry?
City, here I
Here I
come.
come.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got some crazy little women there, and I'm gonna give me
Give me
one.
one.
All right. So, you know, if you make your way to Nebraska, Lincoln, Omaha, let me know, J.R. Swift. If you make your way to San Diego, don't fucking bother Kevin. He's got a lot of work to do. If you make your way to Arizona, well, you know,
Keep driving. Just keep going.
driving.
There's nothing to see here. It's
I-
There's only a
horrible.
few tumbleweeds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
just
feel like at
keep
some
going.
point either there needs to be a Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas thing somewhere, and maybe it could be in like Cripple Creek and that kind of thing.
No, it cannot be in Victor or Cripple Creek. No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Black
Oh,
Hawk-
Wyoming.
Blackhawk's a stretch, but like no, we go to DIA, we get on a plane, and we go to fucking Vegas. Is what we do.
Okay, there you go. Sounds like a good plan.
Easy fix.
All right, but yeah, we'll all connect again, and again, hope each and every one of you had a blessed and wonderful holiday,
Yeah, happy
and
Easter, all.
appreciate you joining us tonight. We may do this again if people demand it. We need people to demand it. But regardless, I do appreciate you joining me tonight, and brought a lot of good Vegas information to a lot of people. And until next time, I hope that each and every one of you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you all again real soon. Good night, guys.
Night.
Night.
Night. Night.
Be well.
Be well.
Are we out?